just quickly, Ash, we'll start maybe back five.
Yep.
Who have you got as your starting back five? And for at least for Vegas, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. My starting back five for Vegas at the moment. So we got Chance Nickel-Klokstad in that fullback role. I always mix up Chanel and Chance, but yeah. Chance Nickel-Klokstad in fullback. CNK, bro, the hyphens. Anyway, then we got the wingers of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Tane Tuapiki. I think Tuapiki obviously will get that role now. Dallin's out. And my centers would be Adam Pompey and Ali Leotoa. Obviously, Rocco Berry trying to race the clock back, and hopefully he takes his time too. Those nerve damage issues, hopefully he gets it all sorted before he jumps in. But that's my back five. Chance Nickel-Klokstad, RTS, Tane Tuapiki, and my centers of Ali Leotoa and Adam Pompey.
Yeah, it feels pretty solid. I agree with that. I think that's what Webby will do. Even though we've seen different looks, obviously we talked about TMM and that, so it's interesting. But yeah, it's I think Pompey's solid. I think Leotoa has looked really good. We've seen what Tane and Roger. I think there's points in that backline.
Yep.
There's line breaks. There's a lot of speed in that backline, which is great. Stuff like Metcalf, you need to be up on his tempo, which 100%. I think will benefit him. So. Yeah, it's exciting, man. I think CNK will come back in and be that workforce. I think he's looking a little bit sharper, like everyone else. Looks a little bit fitter, a little bit sharper. So I expect another good year. I'm expecting a good start from him, at least for this season. We'll go 100%. Now into the halves. Have you finalized on who the halves pairing will be?
Yeah, I'm finalized on number 7. That's Luke Metcalf. The 6 role, like. I'm still going to go with Tamade Mutton. I know a lot of people probably will still disagree, but I still think he has ability in that 6 role to do a good job. I think that, obviously playing fullback over the weekend, as I said before, I think it could be an inkling of Webby saying, these are the positions I want you in, so get yourself in there. And to end the trial with his kicking game and stuff like that being showed, especially short kicking game in that 30-meter yardage, I thought he was really, really solid there. But after the performance of Chanel Harris-Tavita over the weekend, I really do think there's ability there for him to get that 6 jersey straight away. Especially when Luke Metcalf and Chanel Harris-Tavita got pulled off at the same time in that trial. I went, okay, there might be that food for thought. Chanel Harris-Tavita might be our 6, and either way, I'm happy. I'll get behind Chanel, and I think he's doing a good enough job there. But for me, at the moment, I still got Luke Metcalf, Tamade Martin. But Chanel's a close one there for that number 6 jersey. So,
yeah, it's a great argument. I feel confident in both. Definitely feel they're going to go with Luke, and I feel good with Luke. Like I said, as long as he's got that partner, we talked about it, especially in like a few weeks ago, about just having someone that balances him. And I do feel Luke will need someone to just balance him in the right ways. Again, there's sometimes, he's died with the ball on the 5th tackle. There's sometimes he kicked out on the fall. Some options. It's not being critical. It's just saying that he's young and that he's going to have moments that, it's not going to work sometimes. And that he will need the right partner, whether that's Tamade or CHT, to balance, to give him the support that he needs.
Exactly.
I think he's a really good player. He's a creative player. He's a sharp player. I think he's solid in that 7 role based on what the system offers. Kicking wise, goal kicking, we know he's been great. He's taken the mantle of that role. So for me, I always like Tamade as well. But I'm starting to come around to, the likes of what Josh is saying about CHT. I'm starting to picture the fit for Luke. I'm coming more around to the point, like, we need to find the fit for Luke more than and whatever that is. But I totally agree. That will be the big talking point, and everyone, especially Josh, they'll be like, "Yo, I told you it was CHT or there or whoever it is." We'll know next Tuesday at least.
He'd be loving it, bro.
It's a good talking point. But yeah, okay. So then we'll move into our front row and hooker. I think it's pretty much. Yeah, we know who those 3 are.
Bunty Afoa, Jackson Ford, and Mitch Barnett and Fisher Harris, bro, our captains. Cannot wait to see them on the big stage, especially this season. Those are the guys who are going to power us through the season, I reckon, and hold the standards of the club. And Wade Egan as well, who actually I thought had a decent 2 games in the trial. He showed that he's got scheming ability again. He's got the, I think he's fixed up a little bit of his technicality in defense as well, which is obviously we want him to stay on the field. That's the biggest thing about Wade Egan. Don't get your head caught in those bad places, and allow the boys like Fisher Harris and Barnett to get through a lot of defensive work there. Just fill in where you need to. So, because he's such a big piece in our attacking ability as well. I think having Wade Egan at number 9 just helps Luke Metcalf so much in that 7 jersey. I think a lot of people forget how key he was for Sean Johnson in 2023. So, that's our 3 there, baby.
Just quickly, I know a lot of people have asked this about Barney and Fish. How will it work with those 2 being on the field at the same time, and say they get subbed off? Is that an important thing that they're both, say, not on the field at the same time, or that at least one's on the field while the other one's off, or does it not really matter? What's your thoughts around it? Because I know some people really think, I think of this more of a captaincy of like the team throughout the week, all of that. On-field captain, I get it. You need someone that can always be in the ear of the ref, kind of leading the guys around, but what do you make of that situation, which I think is a common one? They probably will be playing at the same time and come off at pretty similar times. What do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely a food for thought. Like, as I said, exactly what you were saying. When I heard the captaincy, I just thought of overall general as the club. These are the 2 players that are at our forefront. These are holding our standards of the club, and that's what a captain is around. I think in-game captainship, has like obviously Cameron Smith's the big one that a lot of people look at, the way he talks to the referee and that sort of stuff, which is like, big in the game, right? And I'm sure that if Fisher Harris and Barnett come off, I'm sure that someone like Dylan Walker, RTS, will fill in that role in that captaincy, because they've still, like, RTS was our captain for, a decent period there from the, the 2010s, right? So when he came over to the 2020s. So, like, we still got a captaincy there that can come out and do the calls of captain's challenge, those sort of things that a lot of people obviously would be thinking about. But for me, like, as a club, having Barnett and Fisher Harris as our captains, not even talking about game time, anything like that, I think that was the best way to go, no matter what, for me, in my opinion, because it just shows the standard of the club and the work rate they want to get to. With the minutes as well, like, I'm sure that obviously Fish is probably going to play his 40-50, which is what he usually plays at the Penrith Panthers. He'll probably play the first 20 and be pulled off, unless Webby does want to push him a little bit longer, which is obviously been the deficit of Webby in the past. He's done that with AFB and stuff, where he's played him for long minutes. But I think with Fish, I think he'll be 20 to 30 minute first half, 20 to 30 minute or 20 minute in the second half. Barney, for me, he can play that 60-minute role if it really comes down to it as well. He's done it, for us last year, and he did that to full effect, and he didn't have a big drop-off while doing it either. So there will be opportunities where Barney stays on the field, Fish gets interchanged off, and maybe we bring on Vai Mwanga, or, if it's Bunty or Four, or, vice versa. I still think there's ability there for someone to be on the field to do that, but I'm not worried about that too much at all.
I did like this one from Team Mackie that Egan and Walker could be co-captains. Yeah, that's a good. I think it's just having someone on the field that can talk with the ref, send the message to the players if needs be, and I think a lot of the comms come through the trainer these days anyway. But when you're thinking about Fish, and I want to encourage everyone to think about Fish and Barney, it's not so much. It's more so the leadership throughout the week and training and those types of things. The messaging they're sending, even at halftime when Webby's there. Relaying the message, they jump in at halftime and recap that message and add to that, and then also the leadership, the physical presence. Like they say about like Fish, technically he shouldn't even be a captain with the communicate if he was based on communication, because he's not a talker. He's there for the leadership and people eyes on him, watching what he's doing. He's doing the extras. Oh crap! If I'm Tom Harley, okay, I need to go in and do some extras. Fish is. He's leading by example, so always think of it that way. But I understand the thought behind, your captain's your one on the field and talking to the ref and all that. But yeah, other ways to think about captaincy. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Okay, let's go back row. Who's your left edge? Who's your right edge at this moment?
Yeah, left edge is going to be Kurt Capewell. I think we're going to start the season with Murata Niokore on the right edge, but as we touched on to start the show, I do think these young boys are going to really push Murata this season, and I think that within maybe round 10, 11, 12, if Murata's not stepping up to the plate or maybe injuries and that, and one of these young boys take that role, they could possibly take that and run with it. So it's going to be Kurt Capewell, Murata Niokore, but the ability for these young boys to get that later on in the season.
Yeah, man. I think, like we say, boys, it's the young pups are there. We felt they were there last year, but definitely this year you can tell, like, no, they're there right now. And let's just quickly, Narlin's coming with Capewell zero tech. We had a good discussion about Narlin. Me and Ash have been talking about Capewell. And I think there will be a transition in the future years, probably to Laban or someone else. But at least for now, we feel he's a very solid player who does his role consistently. And that is an important thing for back row play. I mean, I know throughout the years as a Warriors fan, we've had amazing talent in the back row. You know, Lauatiti, others, Folletti for a good run there. But that style was always at the risk of errors or inconsistency. Now, not to say Capewell wasn't inconsistent last year, but he kind of rounded out better. I think he's going to have a better start to the season. But he's showing those signs that he's going to be solid no matter what. And that's something that you can't really discredit. Although you'd love, for me, I'm all about back rowers can get through the line, offload out to the center or inside. But for now, at least, what's your thoughts on Capewell? Because there's a bit of a tough thing on Capewell.
With that comment, it was a tough critique because, like, you know, I think out of the two back rollers, like, if you're going to think that Murata Niokore is going to be throwing offloads left, right, and center, or do you think Kurt Capewell is going to be more so the one to throw offload? Like we saw last year, he had errors to his game because he held the ball out, waiting for someone to come through for the offload. Like, I remember that Knights game. Remember, he held onto the ball for, like, you know, that whole time. He's got that beautiful hit and spin on the side. He's got the ability to play center. You know, we saw him in Origin a couple of years back, obviously, running down the sideline at center. He has gotten older. He's obviously older now, but, you know, I think that there's errors in his game at moments, but the one thing you can never count out on Kurt Capewell is he's going to turn up on the next set. Look at the trials against the Sharkies. He dropped the ball. He had that error, I think, in the ruck. And then, like, later on, I think it was Hemanuele hit the line. It was Kurt Capewell and Wade Egan, I think, came together and forced the error out of Hemanuele. So that's the type of player that Kurt Capewell is. He's a hard worker. He's going to be out there for a long minute role. And yeah, attacking ability. What are you talking about? Like, he got offload. He's got a hit and spin. He's got stuff there. I think sometimes that even when we go left, it looks a little bit better than sometimes when we got that hard running edge back rower at times, because Kurt Capewell loves to play off the cuff at the moment. So I don't fully agree with that at all.
Hey, kia ora, Jose. Good to see you, brother. I don't really agree with it fully, but respect it to Narlin. Now, the lock position, I feel confident in saying Clark is that going to be that guy. You pretty much saying that as well, Ish?
Definitely, but I think he's going to be the guy to start out the game, and then probably, what do you think, about 20, 30 minutes on, Dylan Walker will come on and fill in that role.
Yeah, 20, 30 minutes. I think once they get a good feel for where he's at, you know, he's done a stint. I mean, his work rate was great on the weekend. He's got a good hard-hitting style. And I think, he'll set the tone early, make that punch through the middle, and then Walker will start to really dissect, analyze. I mean, you see when Walks comes on, he just kind of really pushes the team around. Even off the yardage, he just goes, we're going to go hard left this time. We're going to go right. We're going to hit the short side twice. You know, so that's great. And that too, if you think about it now, adding in voices to help Metcalf, that's another one I forgot was Walker. And so, you know, that when that 25 minutes comes on, you got someone, especially for Metcalf, that can help you direct things and set stuff up, which is great. So
100%.
Walks, if he can stay healthy, but specifically I thought Clark is good. I like the signing. I like the effort. I like how he's looking physically, mentally, and it was great to see him in this preseason. So
yeah, I echo all that, but perfectly said. Perfectly said.
We'll go now to the bench. This is a tricky one. There's, it's kind of. I mean, we probably lock in Walker. I think we know that's going to be our man off the bench. Now we'll just isolate at least for now. Do we go with a hooker replacement in a Sam Healy to cover for Egan? Is that what we need? And again, we know with Egan, it's quite difficult to know if he can play 80, and we know he can, but that head injury or knocks always around the corner, unfortunately. But what do you think we do? Do you think we go with a Sam Healy on the bench to cover that? But he's also quite big, Sam. He might be a good defensive option as well. So, what do you make of it?
Brother, my head's in the air still of this one, eh? Like, I think Sam Healy, he's very raw. Like, I think a lot of people do need to understand that as well. I think defensively, he's very, very good and he shows high potential there. His running game, very, very solid. But there's moments there too where he does space out a little bit, take the ball out to the opposite side from where the shape actually is, and he kind of gets mixed up in moments. But he's definitely got time to grow. He's very raw at the moment, but he's got a very high ceiling as well. I think running against the Raiders, I think that we could run like a Dylan Walker and 3 forwards, and not have Healy on the bench there. Maybe Healy start off in cup, and then maybe if a head knock happens with Wade Egan, Aaron Clark might have to push and play some minutes in hooker. Don't really enjoy that too much, but if we have to, we could do that. It's just like when we have Sam Healy on the bench, it does look a little bit light, and I worry a little bit that we're going to miss maybe a Vaimwanga on the bench, or one of those boys are going to miss out due to that. But I think there's still ability there. I think that I'll lock it in. We'll go Walker and Sam Healy. We'll start off with that. We'll see what bench we can fill out with those two people there.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's. Yeah. I think Webby's going to have to be really thoughtful on this because. He pushed AFB and even Barney quite a bit last year to play those long minutes, and at times he went with a 3-man rotation, really. When Lussick sat on the bench, or whoever might have been Pompey, or whoever sat on the bench for a long time. I don't think you can push out JFH this year. No. So it look, I would go with a 4-man bench. I mean, Healy is an option. You're going to have to be real careful about it, but let's stick with Healy because I like the idea of having consistent good hooker play throughout the game. And I don't want to sacrifice that. And not to say Lussick wasn't good. He was good in his own way, but we need that tempo from the ruck if we're going to continue to chase points, if we get in a bad situation or if we just want to keep our tempo up. I think Healy's the right guy to have on the bench. So, okay, let's stick with those two. And then who's the last two to fill out, really? Yeah.
We'll try and fill out the last two, and then we might come back to dropping Healy off the bench and fill out who we're going to fill in that. Yeah, because I agree with you. When we got Fisher Harris and Barney, if we do want that double change and have that, fluidity, like Aaron Clark's got the ability to play hooker, I think better than Dylan Walker could, and I think he can do so. I just don't really enjoy that too much. But anyway, we'll move on. Yeah. My next cab off the rank, you got to have Jackson Ford in the lineup, I think. I think he had a good stint here in this trial game. He is on decent money. He is definitely being a big part of our top 30. Gets for a tireless amount of work. I think he can do a job plugging the hole for that middle part of the game. And then we're going to bring on another bloke off the bench as well with him to pair up. But I think Jackson Ford probably gets a role there.
That's a good shot. I know a lot of fans probably wouldn't have Jackson there, but I understand the sentiment. Does that impact, for example, a Dimitrik? So say if there's going to be one more spot, would Jackson Ford be your back row cover as well, so to say?
More so. Yeah,
Okay.
that ability. Yep. I think Vaimwanga can definitely do that as well. I've seen him play edge before. I like Vaimwanga more so in the middle, and that he loves to play in that 13 sort of role as well. But at the moment, if we're going to fill out the bench for me, I would go probably Jackson Ford and Vaimwanga would be our other next cab of the rank. But if Jacko maybe needs a bit more time in cup, I understand. But I think with obviously his contract, he's come over for the club. We've played him, he's been around our top system for a little bit. I think it's going to take a little bit more before we don't see him in our top 17. So I think he'll start the season in off the bench.
Okay. That's a fair shout. Let's do now a bench without Healy. So we've got Dylan Walker. We always know that's the anchor man for the bench. Now, how do you build out those other spots? Say with like a forward bench, what would you go with?
Yeah, I would. So we're going Dylan Walker. I'll go Jackson forward. I'll go Dimitri Vaimwanga, and then I would probably either go Tom Ale or Bunty Afoa. I think that like having those guys off the bench, I would love to push Leka Halasima in this lineup somewhere. For me, I think that Leka should be starting on the edge, but we got Marata Nikore. I'd push Marata Nikore off the bench. But going off of what Webby's done in this preseason and stuff, I think that Leka will probably start maybe in Cup, and then we'll probably see him mid-season.
I do think that will be the case. I mean, there's arguments for Bunty as well, looking quite solid. Ale gives you a bit of versatility. We did see that in the back row. It's tough, man, because you got Laban even sitting out. You got Leka.
I know.
Laban
might actually steal that too, right? Like, that's another thought. He played that first trial off the bench. He looked like he was in the starting lineup there, but then got pushed to the bench. He played multi All-Stars, so he didn't get to see if he got any sort of like rotational moments there. This is the thing, right? It's really, really tough. Like, this is what Webby has to contend with. There's a lot of people are calling out for on here, but we're not able to have a 20-man lineup on game day. We have 17 men. So, it's tough, bro. It is tough.
Yeah, it's very tough call. All different benefits. Right now I'm thinking they got to go with a 4-man bench. And you use Aaron Clark as cover for hooker. If something happens to Egan, I just can't see it right now with Healy there. You're just losing too much impact, and it's better to have one of those young pups come through. But it's a great argument. It's this is the tough thing for Webby. He's got to be really certain and sure of what he can get out of Egan, and if that's I ideally, because I'm the same as you. You don't really want to see Aaron Clark playing minutes at hooker, because that will mess with his minutes of coming on being an impact guy. So you were banking on Egan playing the full 80, in my opinion, which he can. And just like we say, you just got to keep your head out of the wrong places. But and it's a tough one. It's a really
it's a great discussion to have, because I think it does like make you think as well as like we do have depth in certain positions that we are having these troubles, right? Of like, I think that if I think with a lot of Warriors fans, right, they'll probably want this bench. Like, I'll just name it off. We'll go Dylan Walker, Dimitri Vaimwanga, Leka Halasima, and Jacob Laban. I think everyone would love to have that, but people forget the dynamics of a football club. Certain players that have got themselves in certain positions. There's hierarchies in clubs. We can't just like totally like negate certain people like that. Like Jackson Ford, he works hard. He works tirelessly. I'm sure he trains hard. You can't really negate that as well. I would love to get one of these young boys in and try to push him in. Vaimwanga for me is the first cab off the rank, but Leka for me is someone that I can't. And Laban as well, you know what I mean? But it's got to come down to, there is hierarchy, there is pillars, there's experienced players that we still have at the club that can do a job off the bench. I think that will probably end up going Dylan Walker, Jackson Ford, Vaimwanga, and either Ale, Bunty Afoa, or Jacob Laban. It possibly could be Laban and people could be happy. I'm not sure.
So let's make two benches. So we got the one Walker, Dimitri, Ford, and Healy, and then if you had another bench without those players, you'd have Tom Ale, Laban, Halasima, and maybe Lusick. There's a bit of depth there, across all positions, which is great. Which tells me there shouldn't be an excuse for injuries this year. If we do get hit a little bit, the young guys should be, I think, ready to step up. Because that's a solid other 4 players off the bench that you could bring in, and especially if we keep Lusick. I think that's always another extra layer to say, if Egan gets an HIA, he's out for a week, you bring in Healy. There's a bit of cover there for Healy, or you go Lusick and Healy. So I think I feel confident with. I think a lot of fans want the young guns, purely the young guns on the bench. It isn't going to work like that, but no. At the same time, it's nice to know if one guy gets injured, there's your young gun coming through, and an environment that feels safe and they're not exposed as such. But Yeah,
It's
it's
just
a
the way
great
football
argument.
clubs work, bro. You look at it throughout the whole league, and that's just how football clubs work. Like Zion Mai'u is not even named in the first 17 for the trial for the Bulldogs this weekend. They're probably going to run out with a guy that wanted to go to the Doggies to try and get into that role. And a lot of people, Warriors fans, were really like, get him in the 17, get him in the 17. He's not even able to get into that 17 as well. Like a lot of clubs are leaving out incredible stars, like Jack Todd that played for the Doggies in the trials and absolutely blew it away. I'm sure Doggies fans will be parading for him to be in the top 17, but he's not going to be able to because they've still got Curran, they've still got, Curtis Morin, they've still got Jamin Salmon, they've still got a lot of experienced players that are building the level that these players have to get to consistently. I think that's the difference between our young boys. And I think when those young boys get it, they'll take it. It's just, I don't think it will happen the way our fans want it to. Obviously, Martin Niokore, a lot of people want more out of him being an 850k player. You can't just drop an 850k player to New South Wales Cup if he's playing okay standard football. He's still going to be around about. So I think that it'll be a little bit, and coming against the Canberra Raiders over the weekend, I agree with you more so now thinking about it. I'd probably love to have that 4-forward bench to really contend with those boys because they're going to run a very high velocity type of forward pack with big boys for the middle. Corey Horsburgh, Joseph Tarpane, Josh Papali'i. Like, there's some boys that can get some good run meterage on you. If you have a small bench, we might lack behind during those times when Fish and Barnett are off the field. They might roll through us a lot easier than what we hope. So let's hope not.
Yeah, no, totally. Okay, that's great arguments. We'll wait to see guys round one. No doubt all of our guys will get a shot this year. But they just got to be ready to